Vegas lawyers. I gotta recommend if you're in that 702 and you need criminal defense. The Vegas lawyers, they the truth and I won't lie. If you dealing with criminal charges, domestic violence, DUI, moving violations, tell me why you waiting. Tony Abbatangelo will fight for you, ain't no debating. Don't gamble your chances with your criminal charges if you're comparing.
Hello, this is Tony Abbatangelo, the Vegas Lawyers. So glad to have you here listening. Today, we're excited for a great podcast. We have Public Information Officer Wellman from Nevada State Police. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I heard a rumor. So we used to be Nevada Highway Patrol.
We were the Department of Public Safety, and we have different divisions within it. But we are very well known as Nevada Highway Patrol, and that's one of the reasons for the rebranding.
So give us a little skinny on the rebranding.
So now we are the Department of Public Safety, but Nevada State Police. And within or underneath the umbrella of Department of Public Safety, Nevada State Police, we have multiple different divisions such as Nevada Highway Patrol, Parole and Probation, Capitol Police, Governor's Detail, Fire Marshals, you name it. You can find all of those different divisions on our website, nevadastatepolice.com. And this was really to simplify our agency as a whole and to help with recruiting. When we would go to job fairs or even just online on our website, it was a little challenging to understand exactly what we were. When you hear Department of Public Safety, some people didn't understand that was a law enforcement career.
Yeah, that throws you a curveball because, I know being in law enforcement in the sense of, the judicial system, that NHP or Nevada Highway Patrol at the time, what they are. But when you say Department of Public Safety, which, like you said, you're under that big umbrella, and there's all kinds of agencies underneath there, including DMV.
Yes.
Yeah, everybody's in there. So it's like, wait a second, why do you have a badge and what do you do, right?
Exactly.
That's what you were hearing.
And Nevada State Police is to simplify that and make it more crystal clear, and especially to help us with recruitment. And it was just a rebranding, and it's had great results so far.
Excellent. Let me ask you a question. What does the Nevada State Police, formerly known as Nevada Highway Patrol, do, just for the public's knowledge?
So Nevada Highway Patrol, if we're talking about that division specifically, we patrol the highways throughout the entire state. So we're talking from everywhere from Las Vegas to Wells to Elko to Carson City, you name it. We respond to all calls for service, whether that be a motor assist, an accident, or a crash involving motor vehicles, fatality crashes, debris in the roadway. It goes on and on. Any calls for service on the highways.
Right. You've got a big area, especially like in the rural.
Geographically,
right?
Yes.
So that's the other thing. I saw you caught yourself with the word crash.
Yes.
I've been trained by the Mothers Against Drunk Drivers, too.
Yes, right? We do not call it accidents.
Because people are driving and not paying attention at times. Sometimes fluke things happen.
Yes. 9 out of 10, a crash is caused by someone not paying full attention, right? Whether they be texting, whether they're with the radio, whether they're driving in a reckless manner, speeding.
Or just daydreaming sometimes.
Daydreaming, right?
Right.
But majority of crashes can be prevented, and that's why we like to call it a crash, and it's not an accident.
And I know that it's especially in the driving under the influence, DUI world, because you chose to drink, you chose to drive.
Absolutely.
And then, whether it's a crash, well, actually, that's where the term would come up, and you've hurt somebody, and that's a big, big problem.
Yeah, absolutely. And just this year alone, in the entire state of Nevada, as of the month of October, we have 242 fatalities so far.
Holy
so
cow.
That's not even including the month of September. And we're down 2% from last year, but regardless, that's 242 lives.
That's almost one a day at this stage, give or take a little bit.
Exactly. And that's 242 people that are no longer coming home to their loved ones. There's an empty chair at a dinner table every night. Unfortunately, our leading causes are impairment and speed. And those are two things that could be all preventable if people would just decrease their speed and plan ahead and choose not to drive impaired.
Well, having been born and raised here in Las Vegas, it's crazy, the speed, how much it's gone up. I get people zooming by and it happens, but it seems a lot more consistent. And I know from the criminal defense side, I'm seeing a lot more tickets of like 100 plus, 90 plus, whether it's a freeway or some streets. It's crazy. What are you seeing?
We have been doing multiple joining forces throughout the Valley. I'm the public information officer for our Southern Command. So that's everything south of Tonopah. So I can pretty much speak on behalf of the state,
Sure.
but ultimately a lot of my statistics are going to be our southern region.
Yeah, so it's more specific to your world.
Exactly.
Yeah.
South
It's
of
still
Tonopah.
reflective of the state.
Absolutely. And so with that being said, we've been teaming up with a lot of our surrounding agencies in our southern Nevada, and it's called Joining Forces. And what we do is it's an initiative where everybody's goal is the same that one day, and they go out there, and it's usually funded by Office of Traffic Safety or Zero Fatalities, and it's an initiative to slow people down, to prevent fatalities from happening, and to be out there and be present, and sometimes just being out there and being visible for the public to see us. You and I were talking offline, and it actually will make people slow down, because it's almost like reminds me of like my daughter. I have a 4-year-old, and if she knows she's not supposed to be doing something, she may do it anyway, but the second she sees me, she's going to want to stop, right? Because she knows she's not supposed to do it. So we kind of go back to habits that we do as a child.
Well, and that's where, when we were talking offline, presence is such a huge deal. I've always thought, what is it like to be an officer, whether it's Nevada State Police, Metro, Henderson, North Las Vegas, because you have a lot of power because you can give the ticket, the arrest, etc. But we've all done it. I'll admit I'm guilty of it. Cruising along doing 80 on the freeway, and then there's a cop.
Mm-hmm.
You have to see that regularly, right?
I mean, absolutely. I do it too, right?
Right.
You're just human. It happens. We sometimes, like you said, we zone out and we're just cruising. And our speed gets away from us. And that's where, as drivers, we need to make sure that, and myself included,
Right.
And especially because I do wear the badge, so I'm held to a higher standard because I don't want to be a hypocrite. We just need to make sure that we're paying full attention to what we're doing at all times when we get behind the wheel of a motor vehicle.
I agree 100%. So why don't we go over to some of the recruiting issues? Because I've seen in the newspaper and things about stories about a lot of troopers, and do we still use that term, troopers?
Yes.
Okay. So for troopers leaving, is that true? Is it somewhat accurate? And then what are we doing to replace them, et cetera? Like I said, just run with it and go.
So I'll start off by saying that we are facing the same challenges that every agency's facing nationwide. If you've noticed in our Southern Command area, almost all of our agencies are currently taking on lateral recruits. And what that means is...
I was going to say, please explain that for the public.
Yeah, absolutely.
Why don't you let them know?
What that means is if you are post-certified as a police officer in another state, if you would like to lateral here, you don't have to do necessarily an entire police academy. You would take your Nevada Post test, your written test, and upon completion of that and passing result, you would just lateral over to our agency. Now, if you are...
So a lot easier to get in a nutshell.
Yes, you get to jump. You get to go bypass a lot of the testing. You would still complete a few things like a background check, a polygraph test, things like that. But you get to skip an entire academy, and you would just go to our advanced, which is... and you would still have to complete field training where you ride with an officer on the roads so you get your feet wet. But it speeds up the process.
When I see my police reports and my discovery, I always like those FTOs, field
Yes.
training officer. I'm like, hope the kid shows up without the senior guy. Because we were all young and got beat up in the sense of, because we're new. You're green.
We all have to do it,
we
right?
all got to learn.
It's the only way to learn.
Right.
Trial and error.
So we're down. So does that mean like Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department's down?
Yes, everybody
Henderson,
everybody is down right now, and that's why they've really opened up the laterals to try to pull recruitment. So yes, we have lost some officers to different opportunities that were presented to them at other agencies.
Retirement.
Yes, retirement, pay differences. I mean, everybody has their own reason why they leave, right? But with that being said, some of the incentives that we offer at the Nevada State Police is we are still the only agency that offers a take-home car. And that's a huge incentive, especially right now with gas prices. We did a study a few years back, and with gas prices, wear and tear, your oil changes, and just your time alone to and from work. Because you're looking at, you don't have to spend 30 minutes to an hour driving to work, changing out, loading up your patrol car, go to your shift, then come back, unload your car, unchanged, then drive all the way home. It all adds up. And so it's about equivalent to $10,000 you're saving a year.
Well, it's a big difference in me, for example, driving here to my office, and I just get out of the car.
Right.
I don't have to load up, like you're saying,
Correct.
because you got to check that squad car or whatever we call it, police car
Uh-huh.
to make sure there aren't some defendant or somebody you arrested didn't leave drugs in it. You know what I mean? You got to do all kinds of things.
Contraband, you got to wipe it down with a Clorox wipe in case there was like maybe biohazard transferred from the night before, the shift before you. I mean, there's so many different things you're going through in your mind, making sure the med kit's in there, everything's stocked and loaded. It's just all, your time is
Right.
money, right? And so that's one of the hugest incentives we offer at the Nevada State Police, and it is a great incentive and is one of the reasons that a majority of us still love and enjoy working and wearing this badge and working with the Nevada State Police, because it is just so amazing that I have the freedom to go anywhere I would like. When you work for another agency, you're assigned a specific area, and
Yeah,
we
the
call
jurisdiction.
it, we call it the box, and you have to stay in your specific box in your area throughout your shift, and you handle those calls for service. Whereas with the Nevada State Police, this is a misconception with people. When we make traffic stops off the highway, everybody
Yep.
thinks, wait, how can you stop me? You're not on the highway. Your bumper says highway patrol. And that's where that Nevada State Police is helping clear some of that misunderstanding, because we are Nevada State Police. I can stop a car today in Las Vegas, or I can stop a car in Reno or
Right,
Carson
in
City.
downtown Las Vegas on the Strip.
Absolutely, yeah, anywhere. We have jurisdiction anywhere in the entire state of Nevada.
And that brings back to me a memory when I was a baby lawyer. Speaking of getting beat up, my dad sent me into a DMV hearing, so I'm pretending like I know what I'm doing. Like this trooper had pulled somebody over, on regular, let's
Surface
just say
streets.
Charleston and Valley View, away from the freeway. I'm like, that exceeds your jurisdiction. It's
Yeah.
a veteran trooper. He's like, no, kid, I can go anywhere. And the administrative hearing officer's like, he's right.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
it's just, and when you say Nevada Highway Patrol, the everyday citizen that doesn't know the details and jurisdiction or the box,
Mm-hmm.
they're like, well, I'm not on a freeway. You don't have jurisdiction.
Right.
And in this day and age, there's a lot of people that run their mouths more. Like when I was a kid, it was yes or no, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am, no, ma'am.
Mhm.
It wasn't, you don't question an officer. And that's the other thing, I bet. I presume there's a lot of training in, well, I guess we call it de-escalation, but handling the public.
Yeah, and sometimes we hear the term of verbal judo, and I think
Right.
that our biggest tool and asset that we have as an officer is the gift of speech, and that is we can talk our way into a use of force, or we can talk our way out of a use of force most of the time.
Right.
And there's some people that you're never going to get to them, and that's okay, and we'll deal with that. But majority of people, if you explain what you're doing and why,
Yep.
sometimes they take a breath and we'll take a step back, right?
Because sometimes you're just having a bad day.
Right.
And, you're just hot for a moment. And instead of jumping down their throat, because, especially with body cams, I've seen some bad actions by officers. And everybody goes, ooh. But I've also seen more where it's the person that the officer's talking to is escalating.
Yes.
So, and that's where it takes a lot of patience.
Yeah, and I'm a defensive tactics instructor for our agency, and we usually teach that the suspect or the subject will dictate the level of force, or where, if my tone's going to raise up, it's because their tone is raising up, and I don't want to raise my voice. But if you are raising your voice and I have to try to gain compliance, then that's where we're going to go.
Sometimes it might call for lowering your voice and stepping back.
Absolutely.
It's really hard to tell, and you're
You
making a decision like that.
And you don't know these individuals you're interacting
Correct.
with, so you don't know what works for them. So I will try both, right? I'm sitting there and I'm literally going through a checklist in my mind of trial and error.
Right.
Like, let me talk soft and slow with them, and let me see if that is how
Brings them
they
down.
respond
Yeah.
better, right? Or let me get louder, and then they go, oh, I have command presence, and now they're going to bow down to me. Or not bow down, but
I know what you mean.
listen, right?
Yeah, it's more just like when we were kids, our parents.
Yeah.
They get that voice in their, a certain tone of voice. You're like, I better back
Right.
it off a bit.
Right, we're
And
escalating.
and then, like you said, sometimes people just aren't going to listen, and they're going to be in that mode. But I do know that a lot of troopers, well, actually, let me rephrase that. Traffic stops can have a lot of danger because you don't know who you're running into.
Mhm.
That's where you're stopping somebody. You don't know if you're stopping a guy wanted for murder, or the person that's, been a great citizen for 45 years and never had a traffic ticket. Because
Right.
when you go up to them, you don't necessarily know what's going on, right?
Absolutely.
you might have run a plate, but you don't know who's driving, right?
Right, unless instantly our dispatchers tone out and tell us like that plate is connected to somebody that's wanted, or
Sure.
it was involved in a crime, or it's a stolen vehicle. Other than that, yeah, you're walking up to the car blind. And I always treat everyone as if it was one of my family members right off the bat. Hello, how are you doing? This is a reason for the stop. Where are you headed to? Where are you going to? And I always treat everyone with respect and kindness.
And see where it goes.
See where it goes.
Right.
Exactly.
I mean, and that's when I used to be a justice of the peace. Same thing. Look, and I would tell people to calm down. I'm like, look, I'm treating you respectfully. Let me speak, or you can speak. One of us can only one can talk at a time, because otherwise nobody's listening. And
Right.
it takes some patience, because we both been through it where you just go up. Here's your ticket. Everybody says, I get it. I was speeding. Thank you. I'm sorry. Have a nice day. And everybody goes on their way. But that's not always the case.
Right. And I think it's very important to note that we all wear this badge for different reasons. Ultimately, I think majority of us would say, we wanted to serve and protect our community that we live in, and we want to help others. I can't speak for everyone, but majority of us do not like writing citations or issuing citations. I mean, you're affecting someone's life right there financially. Now maybe they're going to be late to work because maybe they were speeding because they were running late for work. They could have possibly lost their job. I mean, it's a ripple effect. And, just verbally educating somebody on traffic safety can go a long way too. And it's all about building rapport, at least for me.
Sure.
It's all about building rapport with the public. And it's very important for me. You said earlier that we hold power. And you're absolutely correct. We do hold power and authority when we place this badge on. But ultimately, who gives us this badge? The state of Nevada did. The citizens of this community said we could wear this badge because we passed the post test, but ultimately because we took an oath to protect and serve them. And I take that very not lightly. And it's
Right.
I've been doing this for 11 years now, and just recently did one of my partners point this out to me, that when I go to, because as a public information officer, I go to a lot of elementary schools and I talk to kids, and it's very important for me to start at a young age and
Right. Education's the best thing.
educate them to not fear us. And it bothers me that this went from a symbol of trust to a symbol of fear over throughout history. And it's my job and it's my coworkers' jobs to switch that and to change that. And the only way we can do that is by being out there involved in our community and building these connections and having these conversations. Because that's the only way it's ever going to change. Because nothing changes if nothing changes. And it's both ways, right? The public, they may have a bad taste in their mouth. Maybe they had a bad interaction with an officer. And I've said that to people walking up on a car. If they come at me nasty, and maybe I just said hi, and I'm not sure what's going on. Like you said, they might be having a bad day. Or maybe they had a bad experience with law enforcement. So let me take advantage of this opportunity and see if I can fix that. Because that's the only way we're ever going to fix this bond that we had.
Right. And I tell everybody that I talk to, officers, judges, lawyers, firemen, teachers, there's a bad group of people, and it's a very small percentage.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned this when I was young. My dad was a lawyer out here. And I remember driving, and we're turning left on Charleston from Rancho, because I grew up in that area, small town back then. And the cop, it was Metro, cuts off a car behind me, was another friend, gets out, and this guy just starts screaming at me. And, I'm an idiot, 17, 18-year-old kid. But my dad always told me, yes, sir, no, sir. He got my butt out of the car, towed it. And I was like, wasn't driving crazy or anything. And my dad said, you always tell them, yes, sir, no, sir. No, sir, because there's 5 to 10% that are bad people, the 90-10 rule. Most people that come into your office, that work with you, want to do better.
Right.
Like you said, you want to make the community better, safe. They don't want to go out there and harass people. But there's always a bad egg, as my mom would say. Mm-hmm. And he goes, my dad said, look, maybe that's just a bad officer. Don't hold that against everyone.
Right. And,
not every cop is like that.
Correct. And that's how, I go into it open-minded. Every day I start my shift that not every person is a bad person either, right? And just like not every cop is a bad cop, there's going to be a few that are maybe not the nicest, but I can promise you that I have never witnessed police brutality, or I've never witnessed an officer abuse their powers. And if I ever did, I would never bite my tongue or stand for that. And majority of us out there, I would feel, would do the same, because, again, we did not sign up to harass anyone.
Yeah,
we
be
just want
bullies. No,
yeah, we
that's
just
not your
wanna,
goal.
we just want to help the public,
Well,
you know.
and I tell people as a defense attorney, you see the videos on the news and national news about a cop shooting somebody unjustly. I mean, like clear cut. This is used, but how many thousands, if not tens of thousands, of interactions
Right.
do the police have every single day with people across the country? And there are no problems.
Right.
I mean, so that's such a minority. And that's where I don't think it's fair. Because one thing I always believe that separates the United States from a lot of other countries is solid law enforcement that's not corrupt, solid prosecutors and defense attorneys and judges that aren't corrupt, and they're just trying to do the right thing
Right.
and what's fair. And I think that's what most troopers want to do.
Yeah, and you bring up a great point. We have hundreds of interactions weekly with citizens in our community, and we don't have these shootings or like that. But the second there is one,
Boom, blows up.
yeah, and if there's more than one, throughout the year, people just keep focusing on that. And I'm not saying that.
I'm not saying it's okay.
Yeah,
we're not saying
it's a
that.
life loss, right? And I'm sure it's affecting that officer that had to take that life, or the officer's life that was lost as well. And it's like I lost, two of my friends last year. Trooper Micah May was hit by an impaired driver.
Right. Oh, I remember that.
And I'm the one who's sitting there with his family now and his children on their birthdays and helping his wife to Washington, D.C. as they put his name on a wall. And I'm witnessing the ripple effect, and it's both ways. And it's a life lost is a life lost, and it's tragic both ways. And I don't think anybody's downplaying that. And this, I will tell you firsthand, is the best job in the world, and it's also the worst job in the world because of the things I see, the things I hear, and just going through my career. Like nobody hates a bad cop more than officers, right?
A good cop.
It frustrates us because that bad
Right.
cop just made us all look bad, just like the same thing with individuals. And I'll spin it into just, I don't know if you know, but in town here we have a program called Hope for Prisoners.
Oh, yeah. Very familiar with that program.
Yeah,
Great
so
program.
I love Hope for Prisoners. I'm so grateful to John Ponder for everything he's done with that program. And I go and I speak at that program, and I don't want to know what those offenders had done in the past because I don't care. I don't want to judge a book by its cover. I want to read it myself. And so when we go there and we interact and we go in our uniforms, we always laugh at it in the beginning because we go in there and everybody's like tense and they're just like, I don't want to be here. I got to be here. And then they're like, some of them are sleeping, not paying attention. And then we start telling our stories and we start saying why we wear this badge. And we start talking about who we are as people and our experiences in life and my upbringing and other officers. And slowly you start seeing everybody relax. And you start seeing everybody interacting. Last class, we had a bunch of grown men and women crying with our stories.
I was just at one a few months ago. Former client just graduated, or I know it's kind of weird saying graduation.
No, it's a graduation.
Because they also start the program, too.
Correct.
That's what's confusing to me. But here's the thing. People make mistakes.
Yes.
We all do. Some obviously are worse than others.
Mm-hmm.
But do they deserve a chance for redemption? Absolutely.
Right.
And like you're saying, and the one I was there, it was the guy that was ahead of a New York, I can't remember if it was the Port Authority. I don't know if you heard that one, but it was recent. And he was nominated for Homeland Security Chief.
Okay.
He tells President Bush, I had a housekeeper, undocumented, paid her cash. He did time.
Yeah.
And that lightened everybody up because it was like, here's this, once again, big and powerful guy that's doing time now. He did 3 years. So that's where it's good. We all have past. Some are better than others, and that's where people deserve a chance to change. And that's why I'm glad to see officers as well as businesses at Hope for Prisoners.
Mm-hmm.
It's good. That's a good thing.
Because we always start off by always saying we're never going to arrest ourselves out of this situation of, illegal drugs and, prostitution and all that stuff in our town that is looked upon negatively. The only way we're ever going to fix all that or help make it better than it already. Don't get me wrong. Las Vegas is great. It's the greatest city in the world. But yes, of course we have our flaws.
Right.
And the only way to fix that is to work together as one. And that's why I really enjoy going to Hope for Prisoners, because I feel like it's a way to individuals that have maybe made the wrong choice in the past, we're giving them an opportunity to make the right choice moving forward.
And that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's the statistics show how such a small percentage of the community, of any community, commit the majority of crime. So it's not like, once again, like whether it's the 90-10 rule. 10% of the people you put 90% of your time into. Right. It's a small percentage of those people. So same thing. Now let's get those people to change their ways. Because as we also know, you give them a chance on probation, or you give them a chance at a drug court or a diversion court.
Yeah.
And if they don't want to take it, then what's the alternative? Then the hammer has to, and that's where I do agree. Then the hammer does have to come down.
Correct, and I do too. One of my partners, Officer Smith at Parole and Probation, with
that guy? No, just kidding.
It's actually a female.
That girl.
Yeah. She speaks at Hope for Prisoners, and she said an analogy one time, and it really related to me, or like spoke to me. It was, she's gonna swim out to you if you're like out in the sea, right? And she's gonna swim to you with that life raft and give you every opportunity to get on that raft and bring you to shore and help you succeed in life. But if you keep swimming away and you won't grab the life raft, she's only gonna do so much. She's gonna look to the next person that she can, save
and help.
And that's truly how it is. I'm gonna put 110 into you, and I'm gonna do everything I can to help you, so that way you have the second chance at life.
And as the old saying goes, you got to help yourself.
Yeah, and if you don't want it, I'm gonna go invest my time into someone else. So
well, and that's where Joel Osteen, the positive minister, I love listening to him on Sirius Radio. The classic joke on that is, guys in a city and it's flooding, and a boat comes up to the house, and he's like, "Nope, God's gonna save me."
Oh yes,
right?
yes.
And then he's like, "No, the like firemen come," and he goes, "Let's get out of here before it floods." No. Second thing is the boat. Yep. Hey, let's get out of here. Nope, God's gonna save me. Now the water's up to the roof. Helicopter comes. Nope, God's gonna save me in my house. He dies, right?
Right.
He goes to St. Peter, and you know it. He goes, God, why didn't you help me? He goes, what do you want? I sent you a guy in a car. I sent you a guy in a boat. And I sent you a helicopter, right?
Yeah, you gotta
take advantage of this.
Exactly.
And some people just don't see it, and some aren't ready. And for example, in the lawyer world, there's been great lawyers on both sides, prosecution, defense, that OD'd. They got their demons and whatever personal problems, whether it's a divorce or whether it's addiction issues that led to it, who knows? And it's unfortunate. So same thing for a lot of these people. It's sad. Yeah. But what's really sad is when you're there, and like you said, Trooper, I always forget, was it Micus?
Oh, Michael May.
Michael May. Mm-hmm. He's just trying to slow down a guy driving like an idiot, to be honest, even as a defense attorney, and he gets run over and dies. Yeah. That's the tragedy, is when an innocent person is affected by your actions. Mm-hmm. I mean, a person's actions. Mm-hmm. So let's shift gears a little bit. Recruitment. How does somebody get to become Nevada State Police? Tell the audience listening, how do we recruit people?
All right, so how do we start? So first off, you can go on nevadastatepolice.com. You're going to fill out an application. Upon completing your pre-screener application, our agency will contact you. And then from there, you're going to do a series of different tests that will ultimately lead you to your academy. And some of those tests consist of, your first one will be a written test. And then,
let me ask you this, interrupt you real quick. Mm-hmm. On a written test, is something you need to study, or are you told to study something?
It's very similar to like a high school SAT, kind of just basic math.
Okay, so this is just this isn't like the Nevada Revised Statutes.
No.
So we're not there yet.
Nope, you'll learn all that in your police academy.
Okay, go ahead.
Yep. You're not required to know any of that.
Okay.
This is just a standard,
you said math and
it's math, reading, writing, just your basic core things that you need. Upon completion of that, and I believe it's a 69 or a 70% you need to pass that. And again, that is all on our website. We also, once you go on our website, we have live recruiters that you can speak to constantly for any questions you have about pay or duty stations or the testing process. So after the written, you'll be invited to our physical fitness test, which consists of multiple different agilities. So,
just so I'm clear, this is still pre-academy.
This is all pre-academy.
Okay, go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you again.
And majority of this testing is standardized statewide.
Okay.
So all the other agencies pretty much do the same testing with a few things here or there that might be a little different. After you complete your physical fitness test, again, it's all listed on our thing, but main thing you want to know is things like 1.5 miles in a specific amount of time. You need to be able to do a 300-yard sprint, I believe. You have to be able to jump a certain height, push-ups, sit-ups. It's all on there, and it's all things you can practice and prepare for. It's not designed for you to fail. We want you to succeed. We want the best recruits out there, but your academy, you're going to get in even better shape, because they're going to have you running. So our recruiter right now, his name is Officer McClarty. He, here in our Southern Command, he actually holds weekly physical fitness where you can come on out to the academy, and it's no stress. He's literally there just to help you, and you can run through all the physical fitness.
And can you do that prior to even submitting an application, or do you have
No,
you?
Yes, absolutely. You can do it prior to submitting an
So,
application.
hey, I'm thinking about doing this, but let me see if I'm in enough shape.
Right.
I'll go down there and see. You said Trooper McClarty?
Officer McClarty.
Officer.
Yep.
And then you just do this test, and hey, now you go fill out the application.
Yeah, because you got to start somewhere, right? And the process does take a little while to get through backgrounds and everything. So you're looking at probably at least 6 months before you would even get your academy date. So that would be 6 months that you could work out with him, and you would meet people at the academy. You can see how the academies ran. We'll give you tours.
Where is this initial stuff done? Like you said, where's this physical fitness training at?
Our physical fitness training is done at our Southern Academy, which is in Eastern and Tropicana area.
Okay.
It's in a building in there. And then we also have our substation, our highway patrol substation on Decatur and Sunset. I would highly encourage anybody that's interested in a career in law enforcement to come do a ride-along with us. Now that all the COVID restrictions have pretty much been lifted, we have opened up our ride-alongs again, and you can come ride. We have days, swings, or graveyard, and we do 10-hour shifts. But if you don't want to ride that long, you don't have to. We can drop you off earlier. But there's nothing.
This is boring.
There's nothing better than walking in our shoes and seeing it firsthand.
And I've done a ride along back in the day. It's, I've always said, look, my dad was a lawyer, and I did some family law, some personal injury, and criminal defense. Became a judge, so different hat. I'm neutral. I'm not an advocate anymore. Mm-hmm. What you guys go through, I don't care which police division or department we'll call it, whatever the appropriate term is. You're dealing with some heavy stress, because when I was a judge, by the time they got to me, they've been locked up. It's been a few days, or let's say they got let out. It's been a month. People have chilled. But when you're in it, so God bless all you officers.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point. Mental health is very important in this line of work. You have to have a battle buddy. You have to have a friend at work that you vent to, that you trust, that isn't going to judge you when you break down and cry and you talk about a bad call. Because if you let that build up, it's only going to eat you alive.
Boom, we're going to blow up again.
Yeah, and you got to always, you have to balance, or at least just speaking from personal experience, I really try to balance the good over the bad. I see a lot of bad, but I try to do more good in our community and have good interactions to balance that out and overpower the bad, because otherwise, I'm very...
we deal with a lot of negative things that general public going to work in a normal or a I'll say judiciary job, whether it's law enforcement, parole, probation, doesn't matter. We see a lot of things people don't see.
Right. And,
it's tough.
Seeing, especially highways, we see a lot of fatalities, right? And those fatalities you're dealing with speeds of 65 miles per hour or faster.
No, I read the reports and I've seen the pictures.
Right.
And autopsies. It's not pretty.
Yeah, and you're not supposed it's not normal to see things like that. Anybody that tells you that's normal, it's not. And it's not normal to have to see a family show up on a scene and grieve for their loved one. That's not normal. And so we have to make sure that we take care of ourselves and decompress that in some way. Otherwise, it will eat you alive. And I've lost friends in this line of work to suicide and mental illness, and it's a real thing, and it exists. And that's why it's very important for us to always check on each other. And regardless if you're in this line of work or not, everybody needs to check on each other and take care of each other, because if you are suffering from mental illness, the new line is 988, and please don't ever hesitate to call, because
988?
988 is the new suicide hotline, and it's just we just lost a Metro officer to suicide, and right before that we lost one of our troopers to suicide, and it's a real thing, and it's just like our soldiers and just any of our community members that have ever, I think we're all probably connected or impacted by someone that's, taken their life to suicide, and we just got to look out for each other.
No, it's very difficult. Because once again, like the 90-10 rule, it's such a small percentage. But same thing, seeing a body or a motorcycle guy and getting scraped off the ground, as the cliche goes, it's not an easy job. So that's where I'm very thankful. And I know here at the Vegas Lawyers, as well as Paul Padelaw, we're thankful for what you guys do because it's not something I want to do. I'll just be honest. It wasn't a gig for me. I'm like, that's it's heavy duty work.
Thank you. Yeah. I went to my daughter's school the other day and they said that they were like, I don't know how you see all this or you do this and that. And I'm like, you hit it right there.
Good point.
I do it so you don't have to. Ultimately, I carry that heaviness. We talk about how the badge is really heavy. When we retire and we take it off, we always say the weight of the badge is tremendous after all the years of service you put in because we carry all of those calls. And it's for anybody, whether it be highway or a city cop. I mean, with the calls for service we go on and the things we see and experience, like the weight of the badge is so intense at the end of your career. So we do it so you don't have to ultimately, though.
Right. And especially with public outcry against officers now, it's a very difficult job.
When 9/11 happened, up because unfortunately when tragedy happens, our country steps up.
That unifies us.
Yes.
I mean, I remember being in the airport and a guy in a military uniform walking by and people clapping, and but 20 years earlier in Vietnam, people were booing those people. So I mean,
right.
So when there's something that rallies us together,
exactly.
like 9/11 did.
So when 9/11 happened, we had an increase in law enforcement and we had an increase in the military because people wanted to step up and they were moved to want to help our nation, right? But now, fast forward 20 years later, all of those officers are retiring. So now, because they're all retiring, or...
That's true. It's 20 years.
20 years. So now they're all retiring because they were under, old contracts. Now we have to do 25 plus. But majority of those officers are retiring. So we're looking at that as well as, yes, we had all the riots and the protests, and the climate is a little different, and we're rebuilding from that right now. And I'll give you an example because I'm very passionate about it. I told you, my goal in this career is to make sure that this becomes a symbol of trust and not a symbol of fear. And so, for example, the Las Vegas Aces just won the championship, right? It's our first championship for a professional sports team here in town. So proud, so excited. I mean, everybody wants to jump on, right? So I know a few people that work over there, and I've made these connections, and I played basketball all growing up, so I love basketball.
And I did too, but everybody grew on me.
Right, me too, don't worry. I stayed.
My dad's like, tennis or bowling would probably be better. 9th grade was into my basketball career.
I'm like a hobbit. I'm short and I have big feet.
You're medium height in my book, lady.
So
but back to the Aces,
Yeah, so I played in high school, so basketball has a special place in my heart because, it was awesome growing up playing basketball and the team and all that stuff. And so not only is it special because of the sport and what they're doing for our community, I always say, we're so proud that for what they're doing on the court, but more importantly, what they're doing off the court in our communities, going to the schools, giving back, charity. I've been watching all of it, and it's been very moving. And so we just wanted to show our support, and we actually went and got the logos put on our cars, on 2 of our cars, to show our support. And that's a big deal because if you remember with WNBA, NBA. I mean, that was a big movement, right, with Black Lives Matter and everything. And so
that's absolutely true.
And I, I see through both sides. I understand the movement for the most part and justice and equality for all. And I'm actually gay too, so I'm like law enforcement, and I'm married to a woman, and I have a child, and I'm all about
20 years ago, you had no chance of being an officer.
Exactly. So
that's where it takes time. It takes protest, whatever, it takes movement to get to these types of places.
Right. We have to listen to each other, right?
Right.
We have to come together if we ever want to accomplish anything. And so, I got a little pushback from some of my peers, right? A few of them that are like, well, what have the Aces done for us? It's not about what they've done for us. It's about us connecting with our community and stepping up for what's right and supporting them, right?
Yeah, it's just disappointing to hear that old school mentality. It's you guys, once again, like you said at the very beginning, you're in a position and you're held to a higher standard, so you've got to set the example.
Absolutely.
So even if the Aces wearing their shirts and professional, whether it's basketball, football, baseball, wearing shirts, protesting, well, if you really think about what they're protesting, it's equality.
Equality.
Well, that's what we want. Justice. That's what we all want. And like you said, you're doing the right thing. What have they done for us? It's no. What are we doing for them in the community?
And that's that 1% that we're talking about,
Yep.
right? Like 9 out of 10, everybody's like, let's go. What
Right.
can we do for them? Where do they need us? Let's go support them, right?
But it takes the courage for the other 9 to stand up.
Yes.
And
that's kind of where I was at. Like, nothing changes if nothing changes, and we need to be the change as well as they do. And don't get me wrong, I'm standing there. We gave them escorts when their plane landed. We were one of the only agencies that showed up when
That's
their plane
awesome.
landed to cheer them on. And then we were the only agency to give them an escort to their parade, which the city was even hesitant to give them a certain distance on their parade because of it's women basketball.
So
and again,
what?
it's all equality, right? And so I just felt that myself and my agency, because it went all the way to my top, and I can't thank my command enough for the support that they were like, no, get out there, let's support them, right? Getting the decals on the car and everything. And so it was amazing to watch and to drive down that parade. We were the only agency that actually had patrol cars in the parade. Everyone else had a couple motor units. To drive in that parade and to see the community that show up for not only them, but they waved to me, they waved to my partner that was driving the car. We were just embracing everyone as one in our community to celebrate the success of this team. And it was just so much bigger than just a championship to me personally and my agency. And we were just so grateful to be a part of it, and that the Aces let us be a part of it, And that right there, those baby steps, is building those relationships to get back to where we were. And again,
you got to work with the community.
baby steps, right?
Yep. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to get ready to wrap up. So, Trooper, 2 things. One, why don't you let the public know once again where they can apply for a position? And there's civilian positions too, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So why don't we announce that one more time?
Yeah, so if you want to go on NevadaStatePolice.com, you'll see a list of multiple positions from sworn to civilian, and their pay, your pay will also be attached to the position, so you can get a better insight of what that position entails, as well as we have our recruiters that are monitoring that site. So if you have any questions, you can always email them, or you can talk to them, chat with them live on that site. So please, if you've ever had that passion to serve and protect your community, we want you. And don't forget, we also get that take-home car, which gas prices are real expensive right now, so it's a huge incentive.
I might be leaving the Vegas lawyers. I'm old and out of shape, but that's
Yeah.
beside the point.
Yeah, and if you want, please come do a ride-along with us. We have parole and probation, we have highway patrol, we have fire marshals, governor's detail, Capitol Police, you name it. And the only way to actually see if this is a good fit for you is if you come in and experience it yourself. So we need people that want to go out there and make our communities better and be that change. And so please, NevadaStatePolice.com, speak to a recruiter today.
And I said 2 things. So the second thing, anything else you'd like to add?
Nope.
Well, Trooper Wellman, thank you for being here. I appreciate you.
Thanks for having me.
I'm glad. It's nice to meet you, and it's nice to see the positive attitude of, as they say, the blue, right? Are we still
Yeah.
blue, even though you got gray on?
Oh, yeah, we're the blue. Yeah, we're the blue family.
All right. Well, thank you for listening to the Las Vegas Lawyers, or the Vegas Lawyers, I should say. And we're grateful for your presence. If you have any questions, you can call us at 702-707-7000.
The Vegas Lawyers, I gotta recommend. If you're in that 702 and you need criminal defense, the Vegas Lawyers, they the truth and I won't lie. If you dealing with criminal charges, domestic violence, DUI, moving violations, tell me why you waiting. Tony Abbatangelo will fight for you, ain't no debating. Don't gamble your chances with your criminal charges. If you're comparing your choices, always pick the Vegas Lawyers. Hey.